tickets you're going to win this fall?
Is the question for Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes. Now, facts are facts. That was their breakthrough. They find like Mario Cristobal went into the year with a lot of pressure. He had a 500 record as the Hurricanes head coach. He went through and he delivered the first double-digit win season since 2017. Double-digit win seasons have not been popping up a lot during Miami's ACC era, so it was a success. However, when you blow a 21-point lead in the last regular season game of the year, which bumped you out of the ACC championship game and bumped you out of the college football playoff picture, does feel like you didn't quite finish the race. So a lot of motivation going into this season for the players that are still around. New faces include Carson Beck. New faces include Corey Heatherman, new defensive coordinator coming in to try and shore up a defense that was extremely leaky. Over under win total at FanDuel Sportsbook is at 9.5, over at plus 122, under at minus 150. Danny, what do you want to do with it?
I'm going under. Not by much though. I had him at 9-3 when I kind of walked through this. I do think Notre Dame is a tricky game for that one. I do think it kind of sets the course of the season. If they win it, maybe they carry that momentum in there. But Florida, again, there's a lot of crapshoot games, so it's not with a ton of confidence. Like if Florida has DJ Lagway, I think Florida wins that game. If they don't, I think Miami can. But I'm not a big believer in Carson Beck, replicating any sort of the success that Cam Ward did. We saw how many times he put the team on his back. I think him being more of a pocket guy could challenge that offensive line, which is supposed to be really good. But you went down the list of wide receivers and the wide receiving production that is gone last year. It's pretty astounding how many pieces are there. So I've got them going under the 9.5.
Over.
Yeah.
Go.
All right, Tom.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just said the reason I'm majorly concerned about Louisville is the lines of scrimmage. You know what I'm not worried about with Miami?
the lines
of scrimmage. They get 4 of their offensive line back. I like the addition of Brockermeyer at center. They got him out of the portal. I think that's going to be one of the better offensive lines in the ACC, if not the best offensive line in the ACC. Defensive line, I think, could be the second best or the best in the ACC. Clemson is the only other real kind of competitor for me in that market. The secondary's entirely new. That's a good thing, in my opinion, because that secondary was getting toasted quite often last year. And I also think the change at defensive coordinator makes a big difference there, because maybe this defensive coordinator will realize his secondary can't do that and change up the way he does things. And I think that Heatherman was a very good, he only had the 1 year in charge at Minnesota, but he was running the Minnesota defense. And I think Minnesota's defense under Heatherman and then under Rossi before him has been a very effective and a very sound defense. So I expect that to be the case at Miami this year. Carson Beck is clearly not Cam Ward. I don't think so. And I think what's going to hurt him is he won't have any of Cam Ward's receivers either. But I do think Miami is very well set up at the running back position. So I see that offensive line. I see that stable of running backs. I see what should be an excellent pass rush. I see what should be a very good secondary, or at least an improved secondary. And I think that when you look at this team and you look at that schedule, yeah, Notre Dame is going to be tough. They're probably going to lose that game. Other than that, I don't see a game that this team can't win. I think they're going to be 10-2 more than they're going to be 9-3. So give me the Canes over.
I'm going to go under for a couple reasons. One, in talking to Miami people, I get different answers on who's going to be the receiver. And I don't like that. I don't like receiver by committee. That usually means you don't have somebody. Like for every 2019 LSU where they had like 3 somebodies, there's so many examples where it's just like, all right, so you got a bunch of guys who play college football, but they're not special. Maybe somebody will emerge. I think Miami does need somebody to emerge, and they need somebody to emerge in that first month, because like this schedule starts in a challenging way. And I think particularly for Miami, if they beat Notre Dame, because like that'll be a great crowd for Notre Dame. If they beat Notre Dame, that Florida crowd is going to be off the hook, because they're going to be 3-0. Like that is a front running town. That's probably the most front running college football, like of the really good programs. Not like, okay, like obviously Houston got a big crowd when they had the 1 year under Tom Herman, right? But like of the programs that like win national titles, like that's probably the most front running one. Like if they win Notre Dame, that Florida crowd's going to be awesome. If they start 2-2, like if Lagway's healthy and Notre Dame is just more competent than they are, and the Gators go down there and shove them, man, then that gets tricky. Like, you got to get off the mat. You do have the bye week to FSU. You'll probably be favored in Tallahassee, but not by like 10, most likely, depending on how things go. And this is what I don't like. Miami and my Noles do not do a good job of taking ACC games seriously. Like, they screw around in a way that somehow Dabo gets his team to not. And that's frustrating, right? Like, this is not a Miami thing. It's kind of an FSU and Miami thing. They kind of think they're better than these ACC teams, but they lose these games in really dumbass fashion. We both do it. I don't love 7 consecutive ACC games with no bye week for Miami to end the season. And you know that teams would be like, oh, we're better than them for sure. Like Louisville, Stanford, at SMU, Cuse, NC State, at Vatech, at Pitt. Like, if I'm a Miami fan, Cuse and NC State at home scare the crap out of me. Not because who's on the team, but because of how we play. You know, that's going to be a dead stadium. Kids are down, like they pick up on the energy type thing if they're not cooking. Now, if Miami's cooking, they can go 12-0. Like, there's no game here they can't win. I just see a lot of like, you know, it's Robert. Look, man. Robert says, "Bud, talk about Miami without shitting on their fans." Challenge. Sorry, like that's what it is, man. Like, look, every like even though ESPN crops the shot so damn tight to like all 11 people look like they're huge on your screen. You know, it's. I do think that like materially matters for some of these kind of mid to lower level ACC games. There's no energy in that stadium.
Give me the exacta. Let me go find 9.
9-3? Okay.
Yeah, 9-3. I got to, so when I wrote the first edition of the ACC win totals for CBSSports.com, this thing was at over 8.5. This is at 8.5, so I got to come out here and detail you the over. Now we're sitting here at 9.5, and I'm going to tell you that I'm probably leaning more. I see this as a 9-3 kind of game where I do think Notre Dame is the loss. So I don't have 12-0 necessarily as a projected outcome. I think they can go 11-1, but like you mentioned, do not like road games in November in Blacksburg and in the big mustard bottle to finish the year. That is
Tech will be having an interim coach in that game.
I mean, I just the going on the road to play those teams who are not shrimpy bodies. They're not like the bodies along the caliber of Miami, but they are not just going to get absolutely bowled over every single time he snapped the ball. But Miami is still so good along the lines of scrimmage. I think that it's going to be a different looking Miami team. I don't think they will need as many fourth quarter comebacks as they did a year ago. I don't think they're going to be as explosive, but I still think the raw talent that Mario Cristobal and this staff have built up over the course of the last couple of years, that's going to be able to get them to 8 wins easy. I think they get one more on top of that. I've got them 9-3. Let me hit it under on the 9.5 officially, but exacta 9 is going to be something I'd be looking at least in terms of a win total wager.
Let me send a message to all the Miami fans Bud says don't exist. Only one person on this 4-host show believes in the Miami Hurricanes, and it's Tom Fornelli. So let Chip Patterson, Danny Kanell, and Bud Elliott know how you don't exist online.
Oh, they'll find us.
Oh yeah.
I look forward to it.
They exist. They just don't go to the games if they're losing.
They go to the road games.
Well, they won't be losing this year, damn it, because they're going 10-2.
Hey, listen, 10-2.
I can see 10.
I can see 10-2. It's just a prediction. You know, you got to hand out wins. You got to hand out losses. I will say that since I wrote that first edition too, the Louisville game is one where I have flipped that from a Louisville loss, like when I wrote the article way back in April or May, I've had that as a Miami win over Louisville, and I flipped that the other way. So both my Louisville and Miami's have flipped since then with further information.